What's going on, everybody? AJ Capasso here from Talking with the Source. I'm here with my good friend
Robin from Halfern Paranormal.
What's going on, Robin? How you been?
Ah, the usual.
The usual? Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. So before we begin, I first want to give a shout out to all our brothers and sisters over at Parapost Network. If you don't know what Parapost Network is, head over on Facebook, the Parapost Network. We're streaming live from right now. It's basically a community of amazing paranormal podcasts. You're definitely going to want to check it out if you love paranormal like we do. Also, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, FCD Ghost Boxes from the UK. Just came out with a new MK4 Plus Deluxe Edition that has a REM pod built in, along with adjustable sweep ghost box, as well as a portal that you could switch to and add your own apps or devices to, which is pretty cool. And also,
And hello, Kelly.
shout out to Kelly, definitely. Hey, Kelly. And I want to give a shout out to all our brothers, Mr. and Mrs. AP at AAP Variety Channel. So I want to let you know about our guest real quick. We have Ron Koval today. He was a worker at the Overbrook Insane Asylum in New Jersey. So I'm going to bring him in right now. And hold on one sec. Hey, Ron, how are you?
Hey, Ron.
How we doing?
Good. How you doing today? Pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good. Awesome.
Good.
About that. So I wanted to ask you, Ron. I know that Overbrook, as I was reading, it said that it was built, I believe, 1896, and then it had like patients from 1898 to 2007, something along those lines.
1896, I can't account for. I wasn't around then.
I didn't know if you knew the history to it. That's why I was asking. So
With the history, yeah, I read the history. I read some book somebody put out recently. A good friend of mine sent it to me.
yeah.
And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, it just played it up so nicely about Overbrook, which is totally the opposite of what happened there. I've seen it firsthand, experienced, the patients and that. Got along very well with the patients. I had no problem with them. If you treat people like you want to be treated, you don't have a problem. There's always other ones that are going to stand out, which can be very dangerous.
Absolutely. I totally agree. My family is in corrections, and my aunt, who's not a big lady, she's in one of the gang units in Connecticut, and she treats them like human beings, and I tell you what, they absolutely love her. And if you treat people like human beings, like you said, and treat them good, they'll treat you back good. So I totally agree with that. But I wanted to ask you, my friend, can you explain like how you started working at Overbrook, and we'll get into the experiences and all that kind of stuff that you started to have?
Yeah, when I went to Overbrook, I got tired of working in hair salons. I got tired of it. I worked on a great many deal with people, some well-known stuff like that. And I'm not a magician. I'm with people, and I got just tired of the stress and the headaches and that. And I had a person come in who worked there. Now, I'd known about Overbrook all my life, mostly because I lived in New Jersey and not that far. And when I heard they were hiring and the benefits they were offering in that, I said, this is not a bad job, considering.
Yeah.
I said, well, let me try it out. And if I like it, I'll stay. If I don't, I'll leave. That's, I had the option. So I filled out the application and got the interview, and, they hired me,
Wow, that's awesome. Tell me, Ron, when you said obviously you went there, you were to be a barber there. What else were you at Overbrook?
No, when I went there, I first started off as an attendant.
Oh, attendant? Okay.
Yeah, as an attendant. I didn't do hair at all there. I was assigned when I finally went through training. It was a couple weeks. I was assigned like 5 patients on Ward 55, which is all male ward. And basically, they're your patients. You find out their history, and you take care of their needs and stuff, and try to help them out. And that's about it. So it was a pretty easy job,
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. I did. I enjoyed helping people there. There, I felt I was doing more.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Now, tell me. I know you just said earlier that the conditions there weren't that great. I mean, I have heard some things of what I've read. Can you explain a little bit about what you saw there as you worked there?
Well, to give you a little idea, on my first day on Ward 55,
Mhm.
we got there early in the morning, like about 6 o'clock in the morning, and was escorted onto the ward and given keys and everything, and shown around. And when we went back to the rear of the ward where the showers were, the patients were being showered and that and everything. And the thing about them, they were half in and half out of the showers, you know.
Yeah.
And two other attendants were there sorting through clothes from donations.
Mm.
And when they handed out clothes, it was like an assortment of clothes. It wasn't really. They were when they were finally finished. Let's say they looked like well-dressed transients.
Oh man.
You
Yeah.
know, they had no belts. They took socks and tied it through the loops to hold the pants up,
Oh man.
and
Not
things
sure.
like that. There's like no you. I figured there would be like maybe like an outfit or uniform type thing they might have or dungaree thing.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, the prisoners were treated better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's not good at all, is it?
Yeah, it totally sounds it. I mean, I heard as I was reading last night and a couple nights ago, they were saying like throughout the whole time that it was open, they had like over, I believe, 10,000 patients or somewhere around that area that have passed away in that place. So I know you've had some experiences, and I know that you were skeptical, and before you had these experiences, tell me, when did what was your first experience that something was off? That you started to, what was the first exact experience that started everything?
Well, that was when I first started there. For the first 2 weeks, the head nurse told me just follow the one guy, and he'll show you the ropes. Don't do anything on your own. Just follow him, and that's it until you feel you can handle stuff, and then take over. And after the 2 weeks, the one time they hand me the roll call thing, and at the end of the day, before we left our shift, to take the head count. And I went around with the head count, and you just practically count the number of patients. It's easy.
Yep.
And I came up with more patients that were there. And they asked me to go back over it again. I said, sure. So I went back over, and I'm checking them one at a time. And I didn't put down, I checked by the names, and I said, there's more other ones, but I couldn't get their names. And they let it go.
Wow.
They didn't say nothing. So I didn't say anything. I had no idea, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
things like that started happening slowly. It wasn't all at once, because I was there for 10 years. And as it's progressed, things started happening more and more. I'm getting this thing. Can you still see me?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see you.
Good. I have things pop up on the phone. I'm afraid to touch it.
Yeah. No.
You're
No.
all
It's
right,
all
don't
right.
worry.
You know what? I made that mistake myself. I actually, I had to put on my phone. I had to put "Do Not Disturb" on because I started getting all these things coming up, and it would shut down my audio for a minute or my video. So I
A
Yeah.
completely.
couple of weeks ago, you actually ended the podcast by mistake, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I ended the podcast by mistake before, so yeah, it's totally okay. I wanted to ask,
Yeah, because
what year did
even
you start?
today, one of the weirdest things on the podcast I have, uh, I just started it out. I only have like 10 episodes on there. I cut them short. I didn't make them really drawn out. And believe it or not, as we're doing this today, the final tally for I do another one, believe it or not, is 666.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's the final tally, and that's a short time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of things, they say a lot of people care for one. And I give you one of them. There was when I was hired as the barber there.
Mhm.
I give you a little story. One time I was called up on the sick ward, Ward 57, to take care of a patient if I could. He was passing away from stomach cancer. I knew who he was. So I said, sure, I'll come up. I do what I can. I went up later on that afternoon with my little cart that I have, went in there and talked with him, and his name is Sam, and left the cart outside his room so he wouldn't see it. And I just came in as I was visiting him. And I told him, I said, Sam, how's it going? What's new with you and everything? Trying to, get him to relax a little bit. And as we talked for about maybe 15 minutes, I said, Sam, I hear your family's coming up to visit with you. And he said, yeah. I said, how would you mind if I cleaned you up? Because he was growing a beard and his hair looked messy. He looks very sloppy. I
Yeah.
said, because, you know, they come to see you, so at least let me straighten you out a little bit. You know, we used to do this all the time before. So
Yeah.
he finally talked him into it. It came in. I helped him out of bed, got him into a chair. We cut his hair. I removed his beard for him and that, and he felt better. And he thanked me. And after I was done, I sat there for a while and I talked with him, you know.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, Sam, you take it easy, you know, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I said, I'm going to the ward next door, which is a mission ward. I'm going to be there tomorrow morning. I'll stop in and see how you're doing, how your family's doing. So he said, thanks, Ron, you take it easy. And I left. And when I left, the next day, came in, went up to the mission ward next door, left my cart there because they were having breakfast, went across back over to see Sam. I walk in and he's in the first room on the left-hand side as you open the door. I went inside and Sam is in there. So I went in there, sat down next to him, and I was talking to him for about 5 minutes because I had to get back to the other ward. And he told me that his wife left an envelope, or envelope, however you want to say it, with the head nurse in there and
Yep.
make sure I pick it up before I leave. I said, okay, thank you. You didn't have to do that, you know. And he said, don't worry about it, Ron. You take it easy. You were good to me and you deserve it. I said, thank you. So I didn't know what it was. It could be a letter or whatever. So I went over to the nurse's station, went inside, and I asked her, I said, you know, Sam told me his wife left an envelope here for me. You know, so I have it. She said, who told you? I said, Sam told me. She said, I said, is there an envelope? She said, yeah, there's an envelope. And she took it out and had my name written on it. And she handed it to me. And she said, again, who told you there was an envelope here? I said, Sam did. And she said, come with me. We walked over to the room and she turned and looked in. I mean, I had chills right up and down my spine. The room was completely empty. The bed was stripped, cleaned.
No.
Nobody was there. And she
Wow.
told me shortly after his family came, he passed on.
Oh my gosh.
So that's one that even when I talk about it, that's why for the longest time I never bothered talking about a lot of stuff because it just brings up memories and it just kicks everything back in again.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I appreciate you coming on and talking about it today with us. I mean, I can't imagine, that, I've had my own experiences, but, each experience is its own. And I know when I was a skeptic and I had experiences at first, I was like, oh man, this is really weird. And, you try to think about every logical thing of what can happen. But when you have something like that, that you just cannot, really, explain or how something like that happens so quickly, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's really, really sudden. It's
I think
wild.
I think as well though, I think as well it's probably a little bit reassuring for you as well, Ron, because at least you know that he was happy and contented. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
he was
Yeah,
there
I
to
did
speak to
feel,
you, and he was letting you know he was okay, really.
yeah, I felt good about that. But then again, it does every time things like that happen, it's a little chip out of you, you know.
Of
You
course.
could feel that, you know, especially when I had to go back and I looked in the envelope. It was a letter thanking me from his wife and that, you know, for all the time taking care of him and that. And so, like that one. Now I'm trying to,
You,
I
you know
kind of
what?
stopped
You know what
with the
though, Ron?
podcast.
Sorry,
Good.
you made his day that day amazing for him. That's all that That's all that you have to look at it as too, which is good. Helping him getting ready for his family stuff like that. That's something that's really cool that you did, and that's really awesome.
Hey Jay,
Yeah.
here's our secretary for you.
That's Julie. That's Robin's wife, Ron. How
Hi,
How
are
you
you, Julie?
doing?
I'm
Uh,
good.
but yeah, so when did you work there, Ron? What years did you work at the Overbrook? I meant to ask the 10 years that you worked there.
I started there in 1988 and I left there in 1998.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So in the early stages, but no, it was a nice place. It wasn't as you would picture it run like you see on TV very nicely. It wasn't.
Yeah.
People did the best they could.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, a lot of people just basically came there for the money and just sat there and did nothing.
Yeah.
I used to go on to wards when I was an attendant and work on different wards at times and say to the nurse on there, hey, listen, I'm going to take some patients down to the recreation center and that, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but there was good times and bad times. Like I said, same thing with the morgue. When I found the morgue myself, I opened it up and found that down in the basement next to the hair salon.
Mm.
You know, and when I finally got that door open and went inside there and wedged it, I had to stand back for a while and just give it a good 20 minutes to air out. And when I went in there, it was dark and it was a nasty day out with my luck that I would pick. And I walked forward because it's dark in there and I tried to reach the light switch and I found it because in the dark, the basement down there where the hair salon and that was kept was in the basement and it was dark down there. It was not very well lighting. And I remember reaching in, hitting on the fluorescent light.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, when I hit it on, it hasn't been on probably for years. And next thing you know, one by one, the fluorescent lights were bursting. They would come on, fizzle, and then pop, 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 pop. I just backed away to the wall to stay away from it for a minute, let it all land and get it, you know, and waited. And then I got up the nerve, went in, and I'm kicking my feet around. And I know there's a window because I can see it through the lash from the lightning and the storm. I can see the window.
Yeah.
And so I went to there and I'm pushing the curtains aside where we're kind of musty in that would let some light through. And first thing I did was turn to the left to where the hair salon was. And I could see it was like a makeshift wall with 2x4s and plywood. And I said, I'll be damned, you know. And I looked above and I could see pipes running above it because we had a drop ceiling, a lowered ceiling in the hair salon.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, this is all this is this little room. And just then I turned around, and as I turned, it's like in a movie, I turned around and the light lit up again from the lightning outside, the thunderstorm, and there it was. There was the morgue. It was not a morgue, but the refrigeration unit that carried. It was good enough for 4 bodies.
Yeah.
And when I walked over to it, I grabbed the top one, opened up the handle, looked inside, and when I said, "Dear God," I didn't actually really say that, but when I slammed the door, I said, "Whoa, hold on." I opened it up again and I closed it, and I said, "Damn, that's the same sound I've been hearing."
Wow.
Like the
Ron,
refrigerator.
can I just ask you as well? Sorry to interrupt you again, but you know, obviously, just to let the people know on here that you're not actually a paranormal investigator, but obviously you were probably what we would call skeptical, and then obviously you had the experiences. The question I want to ask you is, has that never actually sort of made you think, right, I'd want to do a bit of investigating now, or, you know, so sort of give you the bug kind of thing, or does it?
What it did was kick in my curiosity to what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
That's what it did. It got me going. But down the road, it got to one point, like I said, the next podcast I'm working on and I'm going to put together is holding back on that and going to recall in my head. And that was one, it had to do with a younger girl. And I heard her yelling and I chased after her in the tunnels. And I don't want to go into too much with that, but that terrified the hell out of me. And I used to go down to back into Newark to a priest I was good friends with for many years.
Yeah.
And I used to talk to him about some of these things that were happening. So he told me, because it was a Catholic priest, he said to me that you can't discuss a lot of this stuff because the church don't want that done. So we made arrangements that we would talk about it in the confessional.
Mm.
So this way, it's in the confessional. It can't be repeated, you know, and he felt safer that way. And so this incident that happened with the girl, like in the tunnel, I told him about that, and that shook me up to the bitter end. And he said to me, he goes, "Ron, I need some kind of a proof, something that I can see or hear myself." I said, "Well, Father," I said, "well, I get off at 3 o'clock. I'll stay later. Why don't you come up?" Because it's maybe 20 minutes from where he's at. I said, come on up to I had a side office on Ward 13. It was a deserted ward.
Yeah.
I shared it part with housekeeping that kept a section way in the back.
Yeah.
And I told him to meet me. And when he did, he came up there. I got him in. And of course, nobody's going to say nothing to a priest walking into the asylum, you know.
Yeah.
And because we already had another one there that was working there all full time. And so I got him there and I kind of explained to him what happened again. And I said, okay, follow me because I'm going to take you down into the tunnels to where this happened. And as we're walking in, it's kind of dark and dingy in there. And we're walking through one section and then you could hear a girl crying, you know. And I said to him, I said, Father, do you hear that? And he says, faintly. I said, okay. I said, keep on going further. And then it got more. And there was more than one. And I said, do you hear that? He said, yes, I do hear that. But the sound in his voice has now turned to, yeah, I hear that too. More of a shaking. You know, somebody gets a little nervous or scared and their bottom lip will go, yeah, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it turned into.
Wow.
And so as we got closer, then he can see. And they're yelling for my help, and I'm going up to him, and he grabbed me by my shoulder. He said, Ron, come back with me. You know, and he's seen it. And after that, he didn't hardly want to do anything with it anymore.
Wow.
Because he finally seen it for himself. And I told him, I said, you know, back at the church another day, we sat there inside the church, and I said, Father, do you understand what's going on here? And he says, I kind of do. He says, but Ron, he goes, believe me, as a priest, I'm more scared than you are.
Wow.
So
Just goes to show you.
Yeah. So the only thing he could do for me was to he made something up for me, these little bottles and of holy water. And I said, Father, what am I going to do? Throw these on somebody? And so he says, no, drink it. These little bottles, don't drink the whole thing. Drink some of it. It'll be in your bloodstream. It'll come through your pores. You know. So I didn't walk to the hospital with a Bible in my hands, but I had that going for me a little bit. Because I've been attacked, I've been knocked down. I had an incident where my mother passed away. And it's kind of hard going back to work. You know, within a few days, you go back to work when your parent passes away. It's not that easy.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
And, yeah, but it's okay. But like I said, I went back onto the wards and, you know, get back to work. And that day I went to the ward right next to me. And I'm doing a patient. I don't give him a name. We'll call him Jerome, whatever. And I'm cutting this patient's hair. And the next thing he says to me, he goes, Ron, I'm sorry to hear about your mother's passing. I said, thank you. I appreciate that. That's really nice of you. And then as I'm cutting his hair, I thought to myself, I said, Jerome, how did you know? And he said, oh, yeah. He goes, by the way, too, he goes, I heard she passed in her sleep. That was really nice. And it's better to go that way, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
And now he's quoting things that actually happened.
Yeah.
And I said, Jerome, how do you know this? And he said, they told me. I said, Jerome, who are they? And he points to a chair that's in front of us, because when I do patients, they kind of line up and say chairs. It was the last one.
Yeah.
And I said, Jerome, how do you know they? And he pointed to a chair in front of him. He said, right there. And as I turned my head quickly, I noticed I could make out a figure. And this figure came up to me, between me and Jerome, that fast, and I went flying on my rear end.
Oh my gosh, man.
And that was it. Jerome was done. I packed up. Jerome was a really nice guy and stuff. I said, thank you, Jerome. You take it easy. I had to just pack it up. I went back into my office that I called and put my stuff away and just sat there, put my head down. And I get very sad because it's your mother and stuff and everything. Think about that. And then what just happened.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, like not only are you having a traumatic experience, you know, personal wise, then all of a sudden you have that experience happen to you. And he's quoting things that you know, nobody should know except yourself at that moment, unless, you know, obviously there was people that you told, but, you know, for him to know that and then point to something and there's not really a physical human being there and seeing an apparition. And I've seen one myself, so I know how scary it could be. And I can't imagine what you, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what was your emotion when you like literally, you know, fell back like that? Like, what was it, just pure panic and fear where you froze, or what? Like, what did you feel at that moment? Like,
No, it was fear. It was definitely fear. I felt fear before, and that was something that took me totally off guard.
oh,
I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for that at all. I just turned my head, and like I said, it was my first day back, and with that, and you know, I just got myself up, and you know, I shook my head and went back in my room, and that was it. I just put my head down and just relax and just kind of, you know, get myself into this. Because after a while, I started getting like, you know, severe migraines, you know,
yeah,
and I went to see my doctor, and he gave me medication for migraines, and then he gave me an EpiPen.
mm-hmm.
And I couldn't bring myself to stab myself with it, but I said I had it anyway. But these things were happening. I would go tell my wife, I would talk to her about them and stuff, and she would say, well, why don't you leave, you know, go back to a shop or whatever. I said, yeah, the only thing is though, you know, I had a wife and kids, and I said, you know, two kids, I said, can't give this up because the benefits are so good.
Yeah.
You know, I worked 7 hours a day. That was it, and paid lunch, and you know,
Oh yeah.
every holiday, you name it, I had it. So it's kind of something to just throw it away. And I was hoping that this one way would give way and just go away.
Yeah. No.
But
Now, was this still now after you had that recent experience? Was this in a time where you were still trying to logically kind of understand what was going on, or did you know to yourself, in a matter of a fact, like, you know what, I may not know what it is, but I know that there's something. Like, was your, you know, being a skeptic in the beginning and not really having these experiences, and all of a sudden have all this happen? You know, how were you, like, what were you feeling? What were you thinking at the moment? Like, were you running it through and through your head over and over all these experiences, or, you know, what was going through your mind?
yeah, I started to realize that the one thing that was going on, that a lot of these things were not, as people think, ghosts. I thought more of into more or less in demonic type things, you know, because they were evil. These things were talking to patients at time. So if they're communicating back and forth with patients and they're listening to them right there, because I've seen patients talk to themselves or say they hear things in that, but to sit there and actually hold a conversation, it's one of the strangest things you want to see. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, I used to kid around with them and say, who are you talking to? And they said, oh, that person over there and something like that. And when I couldn't see it, I said, did they ever tell you not to talk to strangers, you know, or stuff like that?
Yeah.
Then again, when I seen it, that was a whole different story.
Oh,
that's a whole different story. It
Sometimes
right
in places like that, though, it's because it's an asylum and stuff, and a lot of people in there do have like problems and stuff, and you do find that a lot of people, they are sitting. I mean, I remember my dad had an aunt in Belfast who was in one of these. They called it a hospital, but obviously it was, you know, it was for people who had like dementia, Alzheimer's, and just people who were what you would call losing their mind and stuff. And we used to walk in. I was a kid. I used to walk in, and I used to see some of them sitting there talking to a bloody empty chair, or you know, or a wall, and you think to yourself, "Oh, they've gone mad. They haven't." But then you think to yourself, "Was there actually someone there in their eyes?"
Yeah, that's the whole thing. There is somebody there.
Yeah.
They're seeing somebody. There, like I said, some patients, there are some that I had, it should be, I got to move around here a little bit. Some patients there are like, when you read some of the charts and see what there is, I won't discuss their lives, but some are scared to live in hell out of you. And one other thing that's more scary than that is when you see some of the parents come in, then you know why they're there.
Yeah.
That's a bad part.
That's
but like I said, things that have happened there to me. One time on Ward 17, I came, like I said, the one day I called it Angel of Death. They did it on the show. I came in the morning and I had my coffee and that. And as I walked on to my ward, there was a patient standing there that belongs to the ward next door.
Yeah.
Now I know him. And I said to him, I said, Anthony, I said, what are you doing here? You belong in the other ward. He said, oh, Ron, you have a cigarette. I said, yeah, okay, why not? Because I used to buy cigarettes and hand them out to patients now and then who didn't have any money, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I said, okay, let me put my stuff away. And we walked right onto the porch because you can't smoke inside. So we walked him out on the porch and we're standing there. And I gave him a cigarette and I lit it for him. And then I had one myself. I don't smoke that much then. And
Yeah.
we're there talking because he grew up in the same area I did.
Mm-hmm.
But he was older than me, much older. So as we're talking, we're rattling on. Then I looked at my watch, it was getting close for me to punch in. So I told him, I said, Anthony, I got to go in. So I threw the cigarette onto the porch, which is cement, and I dyed it out with my foot. And as I got my keys out of my pocket, I turned towards the door, and that's when this figure came up to me. And it was quite large, like a big, massive black cloud or
Yeah.
type like that, and came right through me. And when it did, I could felt my chest closing. I could feel my heart being crushed, and I went right down to my knees. And from there to the ground, felt like I was having a heart attack. And like they say before, people say, "Oh, your life goes past you." No, it doesn't.
Mm.
When you think you're dying, it's just, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And as it crushed in my chest, it passed through, and suddenly you start to breathe again slowly.
Yep.
And then you feel fine, and you're kind of happy because you think to yourself, I'm not dying, you know. And so you breathe slowly and you get your strength and you start crawling over to the railing like a kid, and you reach up and you pull yourself up and you got your head hanging down, breathing like, oh my God, what the hell was that? And then I looked over to Anthony, I said, to see how he was doing, and he was gone. So I'm looking down at the hilltop now where we're at, and you had a clear view, and I don't see him.
Yeah.
I said, well, maybe he went back inside. Who knows? Let me go inside. Got my key, went into the ward, punched in, because the time clock was inside the medication room. I punched in, I sat down. The nurse came over to me and she said, Ron, what's the matter? I said, I have a tremendous headache. I said, do you have any Tylenol or anything like that? She said, sure. So she gave me a couple of pills real fast and I drank it down. And just then, attendant came running from upstairs, the top side, where they had the dorms upstairs in this ward.
Yeah.
He came down, he says to the nurse, we have a patient down. Call the doctor, whatever. And just then she called the doctor. She said, code blue. And she said, Ron, can you help us out? Because you were attended before. We need help. Because you're short. I said, okay, after going through that, I'm running upstairs.
Yeah.
Go up there. There's me and one other attendant, and we're clearing out the wards. They had different rooms, like 5 or 10 slept in. You got to make sure they're all out, and once they're out, you lock the door. They're all out, lock the door. The doctor's up there now. He's in the one dorm where the patient is down. And when I got them all down, I walked over to them, tapped on the door. Door was open. I said to the doctor and the nurse, I said, listen, I have to go back to work now and that, you know.
No.
You don't need me anymore. Okay, I'm leaving. And the doctor goes, hold on, Ron. I said, what is it? He said, can you sign the form for me? Here's a witness thing. He says, we have to cover ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
I said, sure, no problem. So he gave me the form. I looked down at it and I could see on the bottom, it says time of death, 6:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I just scribbled my name on here and said, here you go, doc. And I'm turning to walk away. And he says, Ron, you got to see the body. I said, okay. So then his body is laying across the length of the bed on the floor and is covered with a sheet, except part of the feet.
Yeah.
And so I go around the side, I look over, and the doctor just grabs a hold of the sheet and he just flings it right off, you know. And I look down and it's Anthony.
No.
And his hands are clutched around his chest. His tongue is almost completely bitten off. His eyes are bulging out of his head. You know, and I said, holy, and that was it. I hit the bed. I'm sitting there. The doctor goes over to me, put your head down, Ron, breathe slowly. He thought I was going to pass out, which I probably would have.
Yeah.
And as I compose myself and he's there trying to get me to relax, He said he helped me up. He said, go back. The nurse said, go to your room, whatever. I'll call your supervisor and let them know what's going on. As I got up, I said to him, we just had a cigarette a little while ago. He said, don't worry about it, Ron. Don't worry about it. He didn't even really pay attention to me. As I looked over to the right-hand side next to the bed, they have the little dresser, whatever, where they keep their clothing and things in.
Yeah.
And then as I looked in there, the clothing hanging up was the same clothes that he was wearing on the porch. So that didn't make sense. So that's one of the times I went to the priest and I asked him, and he said to me, he goes, what you experienced there was, as in the Catholic religion, a lot of them call the angel of death. They just come and sweep you away.
Yeah. Well,
Not to be seen,
It's wild because like now this is the second patient that you talked about, like something, similar like this happening where you literally were just with them and it seems like all of a sudden, like that happened. That that I can't imagine what that would feel like. The way that you cared for these people and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden having this happen repeatedly. I mean, forget about just the paranormal experiences. That alone is, can be traumatic. I understand completely what you meant about the black, like it looks like smoke or like
yeah,
like a mist.
it's crazy looking, and I've seen it before, and it's just so wild. I can't imagine. I can understand now why it took you so long to talk about this type of stuff. It's very traumatic. And God bless you, my friend. You went through a lot in those 10 years, and this is only
Absolutely. And it's like a mirror, isn't it? It's like the same thing happening twice, really.
yeah.
As I said, these things go on now and then. Sometimes it's like there was another patient that passed on rather on the ward, and he was in the sick room, but he was already passed on. One of the older nurses was in there cleaning him up, getting ready for them to pick him up. Then they had the coroner come from the city of Newark to get the bodies,
Yeah.
And I known this one too. And as I kind of peeked in, they said, so and so passed away. I said, really? He's in a room there. So I went over and I kind of did one of those little peeks, like in the room and stuff like that. And as I peeked in the room, I looked and I seen him, and I said, "Oh my God," So I kind of felt bad for him because he was quite humorous guy. And then the coroner comes and he's in the room there and stuff, and I was done working that day. It's toward the end of the day, and he said, "Can a couple of us give him a hand?" Because he was already bagged.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I picked up the handle on the bag, there's like four handles. It's almost like a casket, a little big, and you pick it up, you hold it. So I'm in the back and I'm holding it like that because they're in the middle. And then we're walking downstairs, and as I'm going down, I can actually feel somebody tapping my hand from inside the bag, like going tongue, 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 And so I'm in there like that, and then they put him in, and the guy's looking at us. He goes, "I want to tip you." I said, "I don't need anything. That's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine."
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't have to give me a damn thing. So I just went back again, and that. But there's other things that happened in there that were really terrific, and that I don't think I'll even put them on or even talk about them anymore. I never did, but that scared the living hell out of me. Because I do believe in that. I do believe, in Christ and stuff like that. I do believe in the shroud with all my heart. But, there's things out there that people don't realize anymore. We just take it for granted. It's like, and that's the one thing about it. So if you told somebody these things, they look at you like, "Oh, yeah, sure you did. Yeah. Why you get picked to be the one? I don't know, because I didn't want to be the one."
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of that in this field, unfortunately. You mention your experiences, and some people will be like, "Yeah, okay," but it's like, but you want to believe it, you believe it. You don't want to believe it, don't. That's the way I look at it. But definitely, I believe people do see things for a reason, and obviously, you've obviously been like that for a reason, where you're able to have these experiences.
Yeah. And I now let me ask you a question though about the headaches you were having. When you left there, did you ever have a headache again?
No.
No, so that I think it had to do with obviously that the spirits and stuff there, whatever was there. Obviously, I think it was definitely attracted and affecting you at the same time, 100%. Because I've known a couple of people that have had those same experiences, especially around like high EMF fields and stuff like that. That people believe that, or investigators believe that they give off, spirits give off, is that EMF field and stuff. And I've had friends that have had major migraines that couldn't be explained, that they took medicine for, didn't help. And so and in these certain places that they've had experiences in, and I couldn't imagine like being there for 10 years going through that. I mean, God bless you, my friend. Seriously, that's not an easy feat at all. Not at
No,
all.
definitely not.
If you don't mind me asking now, you said that you thought that they were, I mean, you believe that they were obviously evil, or demonic, these spirits or whatever was there. Um, can you tell us any times that you like something attacked you in a way, or in something along those lines, if you feel comfortable?
Not in as much as attack, but the things that I've seen
Okay.
and the reality of it. And that's the thing about it, where I couldn't understand. Like I said, the one night I got stuck there during the snowstorm, and I put it on. That's one of the ones I did put to Facebook, and that got a large amount of people, to listen, which
Please,
was odd.
please tell the viewers the name of your podcast so everyone can go check it out.
Sure. Overbrook Insane Asylum and the Demons That Dwell Within.
Okay, yeah, that was the picture that I posted up before to all the viewers out there for the picture of this episode. So definitely go over, check out Ron's podcast, hear all about
Absolutely.
experiences and about more. I mean, oh man, Ron, I have to ask, what was the last experience you had before you left, if you don't mind me asking? Not to jump all the way to the end, but I want to just ask quick, what was the last experience that you had?
I think the last one that I had, believe it or not, which was so unusual, is that I had a premonition that when I was there, it came to me when I was sitting in my office and stuff and relaxing, and it came to me that something was going to happen that would pretty much take my life.
Oh my God.
And so I was very cautious in this asylum. But what happened to me was about 2 weeks prior to Christmas, I took my son, because a funny thing, the dryer in our house, we just bought the damn thing. It broke down.
Yeah.
So my daughter tells me, I said, okay, well, I said, don't worry about it. So I drove my wife to work, which is about a mile away. I took the car and our young son, and I said, I'm going to go to the laundromat. I'm going to dry this stuff, and we'll get the other thing taken care of, to make a long story short. And so what happened was we go there, and it was not even about a good 20 minutes later, not even that. And we're sitting there, and next thing you know, out of nowhere, excuse me, I stepped my head away. Out of nowhere, first we went to the store on the side. I got a hot chocolate, got something for my son. I'm sitting by the window with my son, and I was waiting for this girl to get finished with the paper, and her clothes are in the dryer. Next thing I know, I wake up on the floor of the laundromat.
Oh wow.
Car came through the front window of it. Took me right out.
Oh my God.
So I went flying across the room into the dryers and stuff and everything. My son, thank God, he got away because the woman who seen this stuff was coming called him and got him out of there.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Which was simply
Definitely.
amazing. And so that when I went back to work, believe it or not, I was so shooken up from that, I went back. Like people always take time off. No, I went back the next day.
Yeah.
And because I was so frightened at the time that I felt as if I stopped, I would die. I had to keep moving. I had to keep doing something.
Yeah.
And I went back there in through unbelievable pain that I had because I wouldn't take all the pain medications they want to give you. I didn't want them.
Yeah.
And working on patients, I was in so much pain in my back that if I bent over to wash somebody's hair in there when I went to the hair salon, I was almost in tears from the pain. I would bite my bottom lip and hang in there.
Oh.
But I never got any sympathy, always abuse. Things changed. Things got cold.
Mm.
And got
Yeah.
worse to where felt I was being pushed out.
Can you explain a little bit about what you mean?
Well, it kind of felt as if something, whatever it was, didn't want me there any longer.
Wow.
Because starting to catch on to a lot of things and asking a lot of questions of what was going on. And then I also came across a few other people who worked there who had different experiences. And
Wow.
that's why they said they don't talk about it and different things that happen. And so that's what I said. It was getting more scarier to be there then because now I was weaker.
Mm.
You
I
know,
get.
didn't have
Yeah.
that strength to fight back, to
Mm.
overcome what was happening there. When I had the strength, I was willing to battle with it, and
Yeah.
fight.
It's like it was wearing you down gradually, wasn't it?
Yeah, you got it. It was chopping me apart bit by bit. And
Yeah.
even when I went to a lighter load with patients and stuff, it was still there. And like I said, it's kind of hard to explain. There's so many things that happen, but seeing things that I wish to God I've never seen, and
Yeah.
hearing things that I wish I never heard, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's like there's so much to it. There's one part where I was looking through what was it? Again, I had in the room there, I was reading in the office there a book on the shroud. I still have it right up here. I keep it around me. And the study of the crucifixion stuff. And the one day I was sitting there,
Mhm.
out of nowhere, I have an office with a desk in that, and I keep my equipment all locked up and everything. And whatever this thing was there. And you could hear the voice talking to me, and I'm there going, well, Christ was crucified and this happened, that happened. And all I hear is like that. No, 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 no.
Oh wow.
And I said, what do you mean? No, 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 no. And
Yeah.
he said, no, it didn't happen like that. Didn't have to happen. Took a pencil, a piece of paper, and I was going to start to draw. And this thing, whatever it was, drew it for me. Drew out the hand motions and drew it. And when I looked down, it was a totally different picture. It was the crucifixion, but it was then the nails were in the wrist. The feet were never crossed. They were on a resting post, and that. And the voice said, in sense to me, it said he was practically dead before he even went on the cross.
Wow.
So his, so these are things I'm looking. I'm going. So I'm passing these things on to the priest,
Yeah.
and he's looking at me like he's stunned.
Yeah.
Father, this is what they're saying. I said, well, here's the picture, you know. And so he took that picture. He said, you don't mind if I said, no. I said, I really don't want it anyway. And
Yeah.
he showed it to one of the other higher ups in there, and they come around and they took it, and no, they did. They
Yeah.
crumbled it up and said, rubbish,
No way.
rubbish. Yep.
Rubbish. Wow. You know what's
And
fun about that is that I actually read a bunch of stuff about the crucifixion of people back in those days. And there's a couple things where they believe that like scholars believe that they actually wouldn't have put through the hand of people because like the bones are so brittle in that hand that they might have put it through the wrist area. So it's so weird that you just said that because obviously I'm a Christian. I grew up, believing all that. I believe all in that and everything. I believe in Jesus Christ. And, it's so weird that, they had this what a thing, the spirit, I did basically automatic writing on you and basically said, this is how it was and drew that picture. And it's so weird to hear what you just described because that's exactly what people and scholars, or I should say, theological scholars have said from certain evidence and what they believe from those times. And it's just so weird that you just said that because I was just literally watching something the other day on it. And I can't believe the church just like, crumpled it up, said rubbish and threw it away. I mean, for a spirit to come out and say something like that, that's pretty pretty
Yeah,
insane.
the odd thing about it too is that the one thing too, because I said to him, between he was crucified, in between two thieves or whatever, or murderers or whatever.
Yeah.
And with that, and he thing was saying that they were not crucified like that, and he was wearing. If I go back and forth, there, I get myself a little wound up here. What he was when they said, oh, well, they were crucified in the nude. No, they weren't. They had something around them, because what happens when a body dies, it loses control of its bowels and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why they had that on.
Wow.
That's why. That's what that was for. And with the two on the side, they were not crucified that way. They were crucified. I'm trying to figure out how he told me again. It was with the legs on the side of the cross, and they were hit through almost through the Achilles heel, whatever, something like there. So they rolled. They had no control. So within a short time, they suffocated. So that was the thing to do. With him, they wanted to make an example of him. And that's why the resting post was used, and that's why the thing was there, and that's why they did what they did,
That's amazing that these spirits told you this, or the spirit told you this. Our one of our viewers, Kelly, she said she does spirit communication work. And her husband is actually another host on this show, but he works during this day. It's really the only reason why he's not on. But she said, I got told the same thing through my spiritual team, through spirit communication, that the nails were put through the wrist, not the hands, which is, like I said, crazy, because scholars have even said it. And before, she said, I always wondered if the stories I heard and read about within the asylum walls were true. Ron speaking about some of these stories makes me even more genuinely curious, because last year I seen a YouTube video about investigators trying to lure out a demon that stayed in the basement of an asylum. And I don't remember the asylum's name, but Ron answered a lot of the questions I wanted to ask him. So thank you, Kelly, for putting that up there. And if you'd like to, definitely check out his podcast, Overbrook Insane Asylum, the
demons that dwell within.
I'm sorry, the demons that dwell within, Overbrook Insane Asylum. Check it out. I mean, I can't believe all of the stuff that you've experienced, and some of the things that they said to you. Now, do you ever think that now you think these were definitely inhuman spirits? You don't think that these were patients that passed away in there from what you've experienced? You think, like, what in your
there are a difference. The patients that just passed on, like Sam, with him, that was his spirit. I believe that was Anthony. That was Sam. That was Sam. Now, Anthony, that was Anthony. I knew Anthony for years. That was Anthony, and that. And the other ones I seen and stuff like that, sure as hell weren't anybody I knew. And that. But they're there. You would feel them brush against you.
Yeah.
You would feel different things. There was one time I was going down the corridor, down this one steps to walk down. As I was approaching the turn, it caged in. I felt like somebody, like an elbow, come and hit me or something to shove me. And I slid, and my left ankle got twisted on the stair, and I had to lift my ass, excuse the language, back to where I was. But I've been approaching, I've been, touched, but never by a patient. Never once have I ever been struck by a patient. When I went into that business as a barber there, I didn't want to do it at first. I only agreed to do it because they had an inspection come up for their certification, and I was on Ward 55. And they cleaned up the whole ward for the inspection. The patients looked good, and when they asked me what do I think, I said they look nice. Now they had like dungaree outfits on, all brand new. I said, but their hair, they look like hell. I said, I have a license. I volunteer myself I'll cut their hair for them. And the nurse was stunned. I said, sure. So I brought all my equipment in the next day. The other attendants helped me, and we cleaned them all up, every one of them. When the inspection was over with, I had the day off, and they got a memorandum going around saying, we passed, thank you very much. And they wanted to know, how come Ward 55, all the patients on there were all cleaned up? And, but that's when they came after me. I didn't go looking for them.
Yeah.
And like I said, due to the fact that family and stuff, the supervisor down there, she said to me, it takes you 5 years to get to your top scale in pay.
Yeah.
He said, if you agree to come work with us, you could have it today.
Wow.
Well, there you are.
Yeah.
You're not going to turn that down, are you?
Yeah. You
I
can't.
know. I'm not cheap, but I can be bought.
Yeah. Hey, I
Yeah.
understand. I could,
So
and you know, but
that's why I agreed to that.
now tell me, is if okay, did these things affect you after you ended up leaving, or was it a reason that you ended up leaving? I mean, I know you said that you believe it pushed you out after a while, didn't want you there, but did it affect you after you left at all? Did you have anything follow you home?
I still have some things that go on. Yes, we have somebody here in the house here. We moved into North Carolina, and my wife keeps on saying, "What are you seeing?" I says, "Well, there's somebody that keeps on coming around the corner as we're sitting there at nighttime watching TV." And I said, "One day I'm going to catch that sucker. I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
see who it is."
yeah.
And I kind of put together who it is. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure who it is. Because my younger brother years ago passed away, right? He was kind of like the black sheep of the family, took my spot.
I know what that.
And yeah,
Yeah.
he passed away at 57, and
Sorry.
other brothers left it to me to take care of everything. Now I was living in Arizona, he was in New Jersey then, and he passed away. So I made all arrangements out there, for cremation, and that I have the ashes. Now, always see somebody peeking around the corner and then darting real fast into this room I'm in right now talking with you.
Yeah.
And I kind of put two and two together. His ashes are in a urn, which are up on the shelf here, which wasn't big enough to hold them all.
Yeah.
The other ashes that are on a shelf in our closet right next to a thing of the shroud and another icon.
Wow.
So I think he's making a run from here to there. So we have plans to bring the ashes to my mother's gravesite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so that's how I got a funny feeling, because it's not doing any harm, but it's being like sneaky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't feel any, rightness or that. But no, a lot of things, I don't know. Like I said a long time ago on one of the stories they put in there, which is true. I got my mother when I was 17. I got my in New Jersey to drive. And my mother, I'm trying to light here. My mother didn't have a license. And one day she said to me, a friend of hers called and said they were moving from New Jersey, their husband being transferred to Florida. Can you drive me over to her house? I want to see them before they go. Because my father was working. So I said, sure, a chance to drive, I'll do it. So drove her there, and we're at the house there real fast. The husband tells me a story saying to me that when I was younger, he saved my life. And he went and asked my mother permission if he could tell me. And I said, I don't believe this. So he says to me, he said, you're about 5 years old. Well, 5 years old, getting ready to go to school. Your mother took you down to the barbershop, you and your younger brother, and you got a haircut. And when you were done, they gave you a lollipop and a balloon. You took your lollipop home. And what happened was when I was home, sitting there on the couch, my mother was cleaning up dishes or something. The lollipop broke off from the stem and lodged in my throat.
Oh,
My mother found me on the floor turning blue. Ran to the neighbor, got the neighbor. Now, lucky enough, the gentleman lived next door, that guy I was talking to, he came running over. He went and got a spoon. He looked at my throat, he's telling me, and he got a spoon, a small one, bent it, wet it, held me upside down with his legs underneath me, and got it behind the lollipop heart and popped it out.
wow.
Just then, the sirens come back. This is in the 50s now, for God's sake. The sirens come up, police come in, the ambulance gets there, and he's saying to the ambulance guy, he goes, I want the oxygen, give me the oxygen. He walked up to me, looked at me, he goes, forget about it, guy, he's gone. And said, no, give me the damn oxygen. And the cops there, standing there, police officer, and he says to him, he said, if he's gone, he don't need the oxygen. And then he started swearing. He was a corpsman in World War II.
Oh, wow.
So he's told them what he was. He said, I want it. So they said, give it to him anyway. It doesn't matter. So they put the oxygen on me, and They put me on a gurney and take me out. What happened is, he's telling me the paramedic, whatever they call him then, was taking the sheet and was putting it over my head. He said, for Christ's sakes, what are you, crazy? His mother's next door. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Put it around his, his chin.
Yeah.
So he took me out like that with the oxygen. My mother's basically going out of her mind.
I can imagine.
We're heading off to the hospital. We're
Mhm.
almost coming in. He says he could hear the guy on the radio calling in. We're getting closer. He goes, I have a DOA coming in, 5-year-old, right? And as we're getting close to the driveway coming in, the gentleman said, he goes, next thing, all I know is I heard a gas out of you. You flung up, like sat up, your hand grabbed my leg real tight. And that's it. He said he almost went right through the ambulance ceiling. He said, you take like 20 years off my lifespan. He said, you scared the living hell out of me.
Wow.
And as they're going in, right before they go in, the guy gets on the radio, goes, cancel the DOA. So they go in, they took me in the back, and apparently the oxygen being on me was helping. Because he was trying whatever CPR they did back then, something, and that just kept it going. So without that, I would have been gone.
Wow.
So they did test on me, kept me overnight, but things started to change a little bit because as I got further in class, they maybe in 6th grade, 7th, I remember the teacher I had one time, he said, okay, we're going to do drawings for the boys and the girls. Boys, you draw a car, girls, you do whatever, So I drew a car. And that was on a Friday. I remember that. Came back in on Monday, and he's going to grade your drawing. I looked for my drawing, and I sat down. I looked up at his desk, and for the girls, he put on like a little trophy, a picture of what they did. I think it was a doll or something. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And I looked at the other side. There's a little trophy with a picture of my car on it.
Wow.
The car that I did. I said, whoa. And then he came over to me. He says, how did you know how to draw something like that? I said, why? Then he had the science teacher come down and wanted to know. He said, because it's aerodynamic. I said, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The design. It's like a vet back then, way before,
Yeah.
I said, I have no idea. And then at times I would say things to a friend of mine in school. I told him, well, back then I said, hey, we just got a brand new TV. Back then you had a 14-inch black and white TV with antennas and a remote control, which was me. And so that's what you had. And so I showed a friend of mine over. I said, hey, look at this. You got a brand new TV. And I told him, I said, one day they're going to have TVs. They're going to hang on the wall like a picture. And different things would come to me and say things. And he went and told, because we live right around the church there, he told the pastor there, his name was Jerry, he passed away. He tells him, typical old Italian guy, real nice.
Yeah.
But we're playing around the rectory one day, and he comes out. He goes to Joe. He goes, where's your friend Ron? That's him? He said, yeah. So I'm talking to him. He goes, you're telling Joey about these TVs you can hang on the wall, all these things like that. He goes, that's the devil's work.
Oh, my God.
He said, you have to fight these things off when they come to you. I said, okay. So I learned to shut my mouth.
Yeah.
It comes true, though.
Yeah. No, it came true. You know what's so wild is that okay, so like when I was younger, I had experiences when I was a little kid of seeing. I had a imaginary friend that I only saw a couple times that I remember, and I ended up having a near-death experience. My heart ended up stopping. I was addicted to opiates, and I ended up having an overdose. And it was my 12th overdose, and I left my body, and my heart stopped for a little bit over a minute. And I ended up, having a near death where I went, to a place that I would call heaven, and, saw bright light, all that stuff. And when I came back, it's like something came back with me where I was extremely sensitive to everything, and I was able to see spirits, hear spirits, feel spirits in certain moments, and started having a lot of experiences to the point where I literally went to doctor after doctor trying to get brain scans to see if I messed myself up pretty badly, and all this stuff. Well, I kind of think from hearing what you just told me that from that experience from when you were younger, I believe that you're actually probably sensitive. Like you have an ability that that's might be the reason why when you were at Overbrook, I think that you may have been, having these experiences. Not that other people weren't, because they some people were,
Yeah.
but it's not always everybody, And I think your experiences being so profound, I think having that experience back in the, when you were younger, I think could have definitely brought you to a space of being more sensitive as you went, throughout life. And it's just so weird hearing your story like that, and then hearing the similarities of what happened to me after it. And it's weird. It's really cool though, man. It really is. I mean, I know it was.
It's good to see. You know what it's like. That's what's good about it. When you talk to somebody who knows what things are like and experiences themselves.
Yeah.
When I did the one show, Paranormal Witness,
Yeah.
and I talked about the angel of death. I'm thinking to myself, and they have you all wired and stuff. I'm going, I don't think anybody's going to believe me, but I'll give it a shot, And I did it, and then when it came on TV, they sent me a copy, and I watched it, and I couldn't believe how many other people experienced the same damn thing.
Yep.
I said, I'll be damned. I said, you didn't feel alone. You didn't feel embarrassed about saying something anymore, because there's a lot of people who see it.
I think that's what's so great about nowadays with the paranormal. There's a good and bad part of the paranormal exploding. Bad part is people are now faking evidence and making it a mockery, which I don't like. But then the good thing is it's open now where you can talk about these things and people don't want to lock you up. You know what I mean? And put you in a mental ward, And I think it's great because these experiences, I think something is going on, and there's, something that really science should technically study to try and figure out more about. But unfortunately, obviously, religion will get in the way of certain things, and they don't want,
everything.
Everything's demons, so you gotta be careful. But there's negative and positive. So I that's why I asked you about if there was patients that you thought that you saw, which you had great experiences, and then obviously you had those really, negative ones, which aren't, the fun at all. I totally understand.
At least now we've got platforms to talk about it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I love how it's more open now, because I tell you what, I thought I was completely crazy, and I can imagine how you felt at first back, when you first were at Overbrook. I mean, you probably felt crazy after a couple of experiences. You probably didn't want to talk about these things. And then even when you were a kid, how you felt after that, priest told you that. And, now it's great that we can have these conversations, and there's been so many people that have had these same experiences.
Yeah,
that's what they need, more to come out and stuff like that. Not to be afraid, because even my son, I say to him, I told him different things. I said, never say never on things. When something's going wrong, I said, there's things going wrong, like what's going on in Ukraine today. I said, things are going to happen. Yep. And he said, oh, no, they won't. I said, yes, they will. Never say never. I said, evil has a way of getting into people and not getting out. And that happens and stuff like that. And the bad part about it with him is it's kind of hard to tell him anything now, because he works for Homeland Security. So,
wow,
he's like, yeah, well, don't tell me, But I said, okay, But I told him, you got to watch yourself. Don't trust this and that and everything else. Be careful. Always watch out for yourself, And that I said, but he knows about these things. He asked me, he goes, is that true, Dad, or not? I said, Austin, it's true. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. You have your own, your own opinion in that, And like I said, a lot of these people I knew growing up when I was a kid in New Jersey. I'm going to go back to a reunion this month on the 23rd and see a lot of them.
Oh, hey, that should be fun, though. I
mean, you'll enjoy that.
Be fun.
Yeah.
So
I know. Then the language comes out.
Yeah.
Then everybody goes back to New Jersey. It's like a scene from Sopranos or something like that.
I love it. I'm in Connecticut, right next to New York. So when I go to New York, I love hearing the New York accents, man. I love hearing the New Jersey accents, the way that they talk up here in the New England type area. Oh, I love it.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, right?
There, you got to have a sense of humor. Same thing, too, when I go fishing out here. I love people out here in North Carolina because they're very friendly. And I'm out there, and I bring my fishing rod. I put it in the stand. I cast out, and have people come up to me. Are you fishing? I said, what gave it away?
Yeah.
I tell you what, right? I've been to Florida, and I've been to New York, but technically I've actually been to New Jersey as well, because the Statue of Liberty is actually classed as being in New Jersey.
it's lend to New York.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we want
It's actually class. If you're standing, you probably know this, AJ. If you're on what they call Liberty Island,
yeah.
you're actually classed as being in New Jersey.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, but like Ron just said, I forget the name of what you just said. You said Linden. What'd you say? New York, Linden, New York. Is that what you said?
No, I said they lent it to New York.
Oh, lent it to New York. Yeah,
It is in New York. It's in New Jersey. They let them look at it. Hey, if they want to believe that, let them believe it. You know,
yeah.
that's what it is. You know,
Yeah,
that's
no,
all.
yeah. I see. I've always classed it as New York, the Statue of Liberty. Always, I never thought about
Everybody
that.
does. Hi,
Yeah.
Brian.
Hey, Brian.
I've never been to the Statue of Liberty. You know, people go like, I have friends of mine in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Friends of my wife, I said, why don't you guys move down here? Taxes are a lot cheaper. Why go through that? You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like the ocean. I said, it's not mandatory.
Yeah, it's not.
I said, I've been to New York. I never went to the I've been to the World Trade Center once.
Mm.
And that was by accident, going to the racetrack by the subway. Got off the wrong stop.
Well, at Liberty Island is about a 20-minute boat ride off the lower tip of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends on how the water is. Sometimes you can walk across that. That thing there. Now, New York is nice. We met a lot of people in New York. You know, a lot of famous people. My son went over to Strawberry Fields and that and everything. You know, he had his little Beatle era too, and he went there. He went and he just had to go and buy a flower or something to put on the monument there. You know. And, so it's a sad thing when you go there and that, but but I said, all the things that I see and what goes on with me and stuff like that, I know, because every day, like I said, every morning I get up and the first thing I see, like I said, is a shroud. And, I believe that is true because they took the shroud and I forgot what they called the cloth the woman had who went up to Christ when he was carrying a cross. And the picture came out on that too, the image of Christ. They took both images and put them together and they match.
Yeah. No,
there is no way, like I said, there is no way that it's not real. It's just that here we have to try and battle evil or whatever, but it's not battle. It's just that it's so hard to see what goes on. People stand back.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of things happen that are bad. Is the reason why I believe it is because we let it happen. You got to learn sometime to stand in and help people and stop it.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. I think a lot of the world that we live in now, it's like people just are choosing not to be that kind. You know what I mean? They're choosing to, be that. I wouldn't say. I guess you would say mean or whatever, because there's a great people, awesome people still in the world. A lot of nice people that I get to meet, but then you get a lot of people nowadays that are very, very upsetting sometimes to see. They get you a little on the upset side, but I guess that's the whole point of life. Experiencing both positive and negative. But
yeah, absolutely.
So
that's what I think that you're saying. The negative part is there, and that's what it is with the different part of the demonic world and stuff that is out that has the greatest influence on people. It can get to you anywhere at any time.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is what makes people think, well, you can go ahead and do this now. Sure, go ahead. It's like having the little devil on one side, the angel on the other side, trying to tell you back and forth and fight with yourself. Because if you're doing something wrong, it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anyone who says
definitely.
And that's what it is. So they know.
I can completely understand, like I said, when I was going through my addiction, I knew I was doing stuff wrong. I mean, I knew it 100%, but in my mind, I justified those actions. So you're right. It's like having that devil, and having that angel on both sides. Definitely. So,
yeah, well, addictions and stuff, I've seen a great deal of them in the hospital there, but a lot of them is like self-medication. Some things bother people and they find a way to help it. Same thing with alcohol. My father wasn't an alcoholic. No, he wasn't. No, he was a drunk. I remember he would have been an alcoholic, but we couldn't afford it. Yeah. But it was just It was just that, and I seen what it did to him.
Yeah.
And I said, God, I can never die. I wouldn't drink. That's what it is. We don't drink.
Yeah.
It's just that it turns you off to that when you see what it does to people.
Yeah.
And yeah, and my mother-in-law that lived with us for quite a while, for 12 years after her husband passed away from cancer. With my luck, I was with both of them at the time. And, my father-in-law passed away from cancer. My wife went out for 2 weeks. We're living in Arizona. She said to me, Ron, can you go out there and stay with him? Now, they could definitely afford nurses and everything else, but they didn't want. So I said, sure, I'll go out. I went out there. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. I was there for 2 months, 3 months. I took to chemo, everything else like that. I watched how chemo did him in, and that overdoing it. And I was with him when he passed away, and my wife was there. And now this is strange because I got up, my wife came out. I said, come out earlier. And 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. I reached over the side of the bed, picked up my phone, hit the speed dial to the hospital thing where he's at there. And I talked to the nurse. I said, how is George doing? He said, he's unresponsive. I said, okay, we'll be there. And my wife was yelling to the phone. She said, don't call. I said, no, I gotta. So we went there. I got her brother. We all went there and we were there for a short time. You see the breathing failing and she said, what should I do? I said, sit there and hold his hand. He knows you're here.
Oh, yeah.
And she did that. And that was it. About 3 minutes later, he breathed his last. And it was sad because one tear came out of his eye as he held her hand.
Yeah.
And she went through that. And the thing about it, when we got back home at the house there, she was supposed to fly in that day. And I wrote on the calendar 7:25 her flight landing. And of course, she was there sooner. But 7:25 on that day was the time he died.
Wow.
That's what I love. When I got there, it didn't dawn on me until I got back to the room and I looked and going, oh my God,
And like I always said, synchronicities are a huge part, especially, for us, the people who are investigate the paranormal and things. I've noticed this, for the past 8 years, 9 years now that I've been in this, that synchronicities are such a big part. And there's just the little type of things like that we kind of sometimes miss. I believe they're very significant. But Ron, one more time before we go, we went a little over, but thank you so much for what we spoke about. If you could, please tell all the viewers again, your podcast so that everyone can go check out your podcast, please.
Sure. My podcast is Overbrook Insane Asylum and the Demons That Dwell Within. You can Google it up or whatever. You'll find it.
Yeah. Do you have social medias as well that they could find? Yeah,
it's on Apple and it's all over,
Okay. Great.
If they could break that number 666, that would be nice.
Definitely.
I'm not lying to you. If I go on,
you don't want that hanging over your ear.
Yeah, you don't want that. Oh man. But Ron, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for sharing some of your stories to all our viewers.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
Hey, same here. It's nice meeting you. I'm just glad my phone worked. I don't know how it worked. I really don't.
Hey, listen,
I don't know how it kicked on, but
hey, that's awesome.
You made it on in the end.
Yeah.
Conversation, and we also got to speak about some other stuff at the end there that was very meaningful to me and to you and to a lot of other people that we don't really speak about on a paranormal channel, but I'm glad that we got to because it's very I think it's important sometimes to switch it up. So I appreciate that so much, and everything that you shared with us, and everything that you spoke about, because I know it's not easy. Kelly said she'll definitely be checking your podcast out. I know I will definitely be listening. So hope to have you again, my friend. And thank you so much for being with us. I really, truly appreciate your time.
No problem. Ron, you guys take it easy now. God bless. Nice to meet you.
And we'll stay in touch, Ron, anyway.
All right. No problem.
Definitely, my friend. All right. Thank you so much, Ron. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, Robin. Oh, man. That was so cool, man. I can't wait to listen to some more about Overbrook, man. Like I said, when I was watching some stuff last night on it, and it was just absolutely amazing to hear the history of it. And then also to have him verify some of the stuff that of the experiences that I've actually read of people after it was already, not in service
Yeah.
anymore, 2007, and having, all these experiences. People are still having experiences up until I believe it was 2018 when all the buildings finally got knocked down, or
Mm.
2000. Not too sure what I read, but I I tell you that it's wild that there's still experiences happening. But that was a great thing, man. I'm so happy that we switched it up today. We had someone on with experiences instead of just being an investigator. We had someone that was started off as a skeptic, worked in the asylum. I mean, what'd you think, Ben?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening. I didn't ask many questions because I was just listening intently.
Awesome.
Sometimes when people start what you call storytelling, it's like you're just sitting there going, "Wow."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only reason why I was trying to keep myself going and talking was because I didn't want it to be a silent, dull moment and look stupid
Yeah,
for
no,
my end.
no. Honestly, you're all right. I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying, but it's just
yeah,
when you have a paranormal investigator or a paranormal team on there, it's very easy to be asking loads of questions about their experiences and how they work and what equipment they use and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, a lot of the questions, like even Kelly said, a lot of the questions that you go to ask, he's answering them in what he's saying because the whole story comes out.
yeah.
Really, really good.
And I can't wait to hear what's on that podcast because um it's like there's stuff that obviously he still hasn't even wanted to talk about that was so
Yeah,
traumatic. Also, I
you're
can't
right,
imagine.
Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I appreciate you watching, Kelly. Thank you so much. Brian, thank you for coming by.
Yeah, Brian, thank
All
you.
the other, I appreciate you all. But we just wanted to switch it up today and talking with the source, have something different, and have still the paranormal, but have someone with experiences that wasn't that isn't in a team, that isn't going out like we are and going to these places looking for stuff, but yet this stuff came to him and getting to hear what happened to him as a child. I believe just like what happened to me and many others when you have a near-death experience that you gain for some reason this attractiveness to these senses, abilities, and energies of these entities and stuff. So I find it
Yeah.
really. So I want to say hi to Matt Barron real quick. Everyone's doing good. How about you, Matt? But this is basically we're wrapping up the show. So just want to thank everybody for watching. Again, if you haven't checked out Parapost Network on Facebook, there is also an app. You can check out Parapost Network on Facebook. It's a community of all paranormal podcasts. There's some amazing, amazing groups on there. I mean, all of them are amazing, but there's some absolutely amazing paranormal podcasts that I would definitely check out there. So head over on Facebook to Parapost Network, officially sponsored by Paraflix, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Also, check out the YouTube channels and social medias of Coventry Circle Paranormal, Haffern Paranormal, S&K Paranormal, and what's Kelly's one?
Rainbow Light Paranormal.
Rainbow
So
Light Paranormal. Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you, Kelly.
absolutely. Check all them out and hit them up and have a look at them. We've got a lot of stuff on there.
Absolutely. And also, if you guys get a chance, check out our new YouTube channel for Talking with the Source, where all these videos will be going up so you guys can see them. If you want to see any older videos, you can check us out still on our Facebook homepage. And again, like I said, check out Kelly's page. She's an amazing communicator with amazing abilities. Just like,
Absolutely. I apologize for forgetting Kelly. I just couldn't. I knew it was Rainbow something.
yeah, no, Rainbow Light Paranormal. The fierce female investigator, as I call her. But love everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.